Well, it took me a second because apparently last night me and Klein messed up the intro and the outro because it was being weird and it wouldn't let me use a different lobby last night. Matter of fact, I think even the background is wrong. No, it's right. It's Sunday Night Live. Okay. Whew. Killing me, killing me, killing me.
The real question is, did it screw up Facebook again? But it looks like it's live on mine at least.
Yeah, Facebook appears to be running good. So hey, maybe we don't have as many problems as we thought we had.
I don't know. That's
you never know. You never know.
Something. It's been something. But
what's up, everybody? I hope everybody is safe tonight. Yeah, I know I've seen where some of y'all says that y'all have lost power and all that. Hopefully everybody's safe. I mean, maybe you're not all in the daylight and can't see what you're doing, but as long as you're safe, that should be good. Luckily, here in the North Amazon rainforest, we've just had torrential downpours of rain, and it's supposed to get cold tonight, they say. But as of right now, I think it's 40 something outside. So it's not really that cold yet. Yeah, it's 39 right now. So,
well, we're a balmy 2 degrees right now.
Oh, you got 2 of them? Yeah, you got a pair.
But the wind chill's down to negative 13 right now.
Yeah. Well, it says it feels like 31, but I'm not convinced because up until a little while ago, I didn't even have my hoodie on outside. I was just walking around in a t-shirt. But it was raining, so I put my hoodie on. Keep getting wet. So, yeah, all in all, things are going good here. Working on some projects and videos. Had a friend of mine come over earlier. Had to help him knock out a couple of projects real quick. So we just got through with that like literally 15 minutes ago. Got the mess cleaned up. Got everything put back like it was. Ready to go. So what you got going on other than the cold weather up there? Because, I mean, you got it a lot worse than I do if you only got 2 degrees to pick from up there.
Yeah. Well, been defrosting the shop. Went live on Friday to hang out while I did some of that. It was down to about 41 degrees out here in the shop, but they're warming it up. It's about 61 in here right now. Machines are a little bit happier, but I haven't been running them too hard. Been doing some design work, trying to do some editing work, but just some other real life stuff continuing to kind of take precedence. You know, cold weather likes to make certain things not work. Had jumped the kid's car once and been dealing with a couple other things at the house that are making sure they're working and not failing. I was down in my basement office just before this, and the lights started flickering weird, and I'm like, oh no. Apparently, it was just some sort of isolated paranormal activity because it was only happening in my office and not the rest of the house. So.
Yeah. Somebody was saying I might not have power. I've got a few generators around here. So I got my little one I use at events that I could run. I've got a bigger one that I can run lots of stuff in the house, enough to survive. Like it'll run the refrigerator, the freezer. I think I've got like all the lights in the house because I've converted everything over to LED, so they don't draw a whole lot. And I've got several rooms, like the living room and the kitchen, I think, that it'll power the plugs like on the walls. So we can survive as long as I have gas for the generator. I just have to like load it, pick it up with the tractor, take it over to the house, set it down, plug it into the side of the house, lock out all my, exterior stuff, and then fire it up, and it'll work. But hopefully we don't need that. And then I've got another smaller one that I can use to run the stuff in here. So hopefully we don't need that.
Yeah.
Last time we used it, we ran it for like 3 days, day and night. And I would go out there right before I went to bed at night and gas that generator up. And I set an alarm to where I could wake up and go out there and gas it back up because it'll run through some gas. I keep telling myself one of these days I'm going to get me a propane one and tie it into that big propane tank that we have outside.
Mm-hmm.
You know how that is.
Right.
When I get the money,
it's a big expense for the, how often are you going to need it kind of thing. So
yeah,
other
it's nice to
day-to-day
have
things.
when you do need it, but
Definitely it is, but it's like all the other day-to-day
terrible.
things take precedence. So
yeah.
Tony was asking how much snow. We're north of the snow. You didn't get any snow, just cold. As a matter of fact, when it gets this cold, it doesn't like to snow. So, snow. We everything's south of us by a fair amount, and actually, the long range forecast shows it's probably going to stay precipitation free for a while. But that being said, I was just talking to Clark before this. My my snowblower hasn't really been running at all this winter, and I've been kind of lazily not taking care of it. But I was like, okay, we're coming to March. March is typically the snowiest month up here in Minnesota anyway. And so to help kind of maybe moderate that some, I don't necessarily want to we still need the moisture to some degree, but to try to help moderate it a little bit, I tore into that, and I've ordered a new carburetor for it. So that'll hopefully be here tomorrow. So that should all but guarantee that at least for, the next couple weeks.
This season.
Yeah. I probably won't need it. But yeah, I've been watching the news with the weather and seeing all the reports of ice and snow and quite a few people without power. So, but definitely been thinking about everyone down in that kind of midsection of the U.S. there that are dealing with that all the way up towards the New England area.
Davidson, do you guys have anything to say after both of you had on your own live stream yesterday? Well, Steve had his Friday night, and I did mine last night with Klein. And to be honest, Klein was wanting to do it to test his gear since we redid his network and everything, because he had been trying to do it because me and Klein do FaceTime a lot on the computers, and his is always it's always struggled and it just didn't work. And so I told him, I was like, if you ever want to be able to do that, you need to fix your network. And so, I told him how to go about fixing his network. I even went up to his house and tried to help him fix it the way that it was, but we had to have some cable run and all that. So he came over here last week and we measured off a cable and terminated the ends and everything, tested the cable. I sent it home with him and he ran it on his own and got it to where he now has really good internet down there in his basement shop, because he was trying to use wireless, and Steve can testify to wireless is not your friend through floors, especially 5G through floors, insulation, copper wiring, plumbing. It's just it's not going to work as well as you need it to do what we do with this streaming and stuff. It's good for shopping and Facebooking, but you're not going to be streaming.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said earlier, I needed to warm up the shop, and I couldn't really run the machines when it's that cold. So figured to kill the time, I'd hop on and chat with folks. And it was a pretty good, almost a couple hours just hanging out and talking about what's going on. And, the other part of that is I know this can happen all over, but up here when it gets this cold and this, there's less sunlight and all that stuff, the whole seasonal effectiveness disorder, your winter blues kick in. And so sometimes it's good to just get out in the shop and just chat with some people and hang out, try to get
a little R&R.
Well, you let yourself just, veg on the couch watching TV and doing nothing. Doesn't help any, but get out here and at least pretend to talk to people, even if it was me talking to a chatbot.
Yeah, it's always good to stay busy, and that's one of the things that, like I said, my shop time is my therapy time, in my opinion. It's a bad day in the shop's better than a good day at work or anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's much better. So I completely understand. So
yeah, and that is, but when even getting out into the shop, you just kind of unmotivated. You got to do something to, do something to get that kind of energy and excitement back. So, but yeah, we'll see. I got some things. I spent some time on the computer today to get some projects closer to ready to cut and burn and whatnot, and still need to go through more footage. That's the problem, is you want to capture enough footage, but then going through it's almost just worse.
Yeah. And then you wind up using like 10% of what you captured. I'm bad about that. I've got to where I've throttled back the B-roll because I'm like, man, I've got hours and hours and hours of stuff that I never use. Whew. Jerry O'Grady says minus 22 and dumping the snow down here was minus 33 Friday night. I don't know where you're at, but no thanks. No thanks. I could not handle that. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, that's got to be wind chill temperatures, because real temperatures.
They were talking about parts of Canada supposed to be like negative 50.
Yeah, Canada up in the Arctic air, but when the
I don't know where Jerry O'Grady is located. He could
like
be
up northern Minnesota. Our low temps during this cold snap were like real temps were like negative 30. But when you start adding in the wind chill, that's when they were getting to negative 50, negative 65. So
yeah, I don't know where Jerry O'Grady's at. He could be in the Netherlands for all I know. I don't know where he's at. I'm thinking that he's somewhere in the U.S., but I'm not sure. So.
But
let's see what we got.
Well, yeah. He's up in Canada. Okay, yeah, he's in Canada. I'll give him that. It's probably that cold then.
His profile picture, it looks like a reindeer. So I was thinking there was a good chance that maybe he was up north. Yeah. I know I saw where they said that parts of Canada were going to be the coldest place on the planet, which is pretty amazing considering you got Antarctica and the South Pole and the North Pole, but yet they're saying that there's going to be parts of Canada that's going to have the coldest temperature on the planet. It's pretty impressive. Not a title I want Alabama to ever hold.
Well, you got to remember too, the way they're in most darkness right now, whereas I think Antarctica's got more light, so they're getting less sun up there in the Arctic Circle. So
yeah, see, no, thank you. I would love to visit the Arctic one day on a warm day. Like, I don't want to be up there. I don't want to become part of the
there's some you get some nasty bugs up there. I've heard the mosquitoes up in the Arctic, where they got the permafrost and such.
Yeah.
It melts just enough and those bugs come out and it's not pretty. So Gerhardt, I think that's how you say it, maybe. Is asking, hey, all, does anyone happen to know why the Reno 65 Pro isn't available up here in Canada? The non-Pro is available. Not sure. Might just be if I'm sure they have a fulfillment center or a logistics partner, and maybe they just didn't have any available to ship to there at the time. And I'm sure they don't want to, have to cross too many borders shipping it from somewhere else. So probably just availability. It could also be factored on, their anticipated sales based on past volume and such. It's just kind of hard to say what and why. There are some things. So like when you look at like X-Tool with their riser and their conveyor, there are certain regulations, like in England, I don't know if it's in all over Europe, but in the UK, their safety requirements don't allow them to actually sell that specific thing there. So in some cases there can be like a weird thing where a certain model isn't available in a region or a country, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it could be that it didn't pass regulations or whatever.
Yeah,
like you said.
Tom's asking, Steve, do you leave your garage a certain temp for the lasers, or do you let it warm up first before using the laser? Both. I have some radiant, oil-filled radiant heaters in here that keep kind of a baseline temperature, mainly from a don't let things freeze up standpoint. Because but multiple CO2 lasers with with the water chilled tubes and such. If you have a spindle that might be water cooled, and also in general, you don't want them to be too cold and then all of a sudden start using them. So yes, I'll generally warm the place up. I try to get it above 50, but preferably closer to 60 before I start using things too much, especially if I'm going to do glue ups, because like a lot of wood glues, 55 to 60 is their like low temperature. Some of them even higher. So you kind of want the material and the general temperature to be up there beforehand. And when it's this cold, that takes a little bit longer to get up to there. When it's normal winter cold, it's, I might have to just run out here an hour before and turn things on and let it warm up before it's ready to go. So, but when I built this garage that's turned into a workshop, I well insulated it. It's got insulation, walls, ceilings. It's got insulated doors. It's drywalled. It's sealed up pretty well to not lose a lot of its heat, and so it doesn't.
So what you're saying is like right the opposite of mine.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have as much of a. It takes more to raise and lower it. Now, this past week, like right now it's 60. We've got another cold snap here overnight. I'm sure tomorrow it'll be back in the low to mid 40s by this time tomorrow afternoon if I don't run the heaters earlier. But normal days it generally keeps that heat a little bit better. And actually too, when it turns into the summer, between the slab, the concrete slab and the insulation and such, it takes a while for it to actually warm up. And so you start getting those warmer days, all of a sudden it feels air conditioned in here until that humidity kicks in, that slab really gets warmed up, and then it kind of gets ugly for a little while.
Yeah. Well, let's see what we got here. I see Three Sons is gifting some memberships.
Yeah, thanks Three Sons for gifting those memberships out. I appreciate that.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Folks can go check out the area, see what you think about it. Let's see what else we got. Ryan over there. Oh, what's up? Yeah, apparently there's some STL Flicks is using. You got a sale going or something, so that's cool.
That's kind of reminds me. He was saying it's a $250 deal, and then you get $200 in coupons towards Polymaker. This is probably like a decade ago, but our grocery store was running a deal where you bought a chest freezer from them, and it came with like $250 worth of food coupons, and it was like, free so much hamburger and other things. And it's kind of like, well, makes sense with, you're not necessarily everything in that bundle you would use, but enough of it was like, well, basically here's a way to get a free deep freeze.
Yeah. Mark's asking about your heaters. I think he misunderstood the type of heaters you're talking about. You're talking about the sealed units, right?
Yeah, these are sealed. So they're oil-filled radiators, but they're just electric. So they're electric heaters, but they're oil-filled kind of radiator-style heater. So
looks like the old steam radiator.
Yeah, it warms up the oil in there, which then it just radiates heat. It doesn't have like any sort of active blower. It doesn't have like a glowing filament or anything. So it's safer to use in a plausibly dusty wood shop.
Yeah. There's no dust getting to anything really hot that's hot enough to ignite anything.
Yeah.
It has a basically like, it's almost like a hot water heater type setup where it heats the oil. Right. The oil, just kind of moves around amongst it, and then it releases the heat.
Yeah, the only heater that I'm running out here that actually burns fuel is vented. It's kind of like it's direct vented outside, so it pulls in combustion air from the outside and it exhausts it outside. There's nothing in that cycle that happens inside, and then it just has the actual heating element that draws in air from inside and then circulates it inside. So it's kind of like a miniature forced air furnace is what I've got out here. So yeah, I don't have any carbon monoxide concerns because I don't have open flames in the shop.
Yeah, there's my like auxiliary heater over there, and it's it is only used for brief periods of time when it gets really really cold, and I start getting where my toes are getting numb. And yeah, this place is so drafty. There is no concerns. So if you don't believe me, you can see my thermal imaging scans that I've done. There's cold air coming in everywhere here. With me and Brady were talking about, I was like, that's the only reason. I mean, I'd love to have a bigger shop. And I've thought about just adding to the back of this one and building me build me another like garage to put my tractor and my buggies and stuff like that in, and just add to the back of this one. But it really needs to be better insulated if I'm going to keep it at a constant temperature. Because my power bill out here in the shop sometimes exceeds the house.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. When I
got the new air conditioner at the house that's more efficient. This one out here is just not very efficient.
There's a, yeah, back when I was just trying to heat this with a couple of electric heaters, I was running $150 a month just to keep it at like tolerable to be in levels. But you know, it was like if I wanted to glue anything up, I'd have to like almost make a little tent and like put the heat right on the object so that the air and the object was getting warmed up. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So
yeah, well, it's currently 69. This one says 69. That one says 67.8. But now there's an altitude difference. But it's roughly 60 something, almost 70 in here.
See, mine just depends on what side of the shop you're on.
Yeah, well, this one over here is also behind the monitors.
Yeah.
So, like, it's probably catching some heat off of these two monitors it's running. Whereas that one's kind of out in the middle of the shop, then about a foot higher off the ground.
Yep.
Because I do add my honeycomb things to the wall as an extra layer of wood insulation. But but technically, when I built this, it had zero insulation, and I took the tin off of the outside of the building and went in with some pink insulation and some tar paper, the felt roll-on felt. Put roll-on felt in there and some insulation to try to seal it up best I could. But this is literally like the construction is not. There's not any code. It was literally a pole barn. It's a shack. I mean, legit shack. But I have thought, like I said, I've thought about trying to just add to the back of it because I've got a 20-foot lean-to off the back, and I've thought about just putting another 20 foot back there and just expanding it. But I would have to overhaul this to the point to where I just don't know that's the route I want to go. Have no idea.
Gregor says, I leave the gas heater set around 50 to 55 in my garage and then increase it to 60, 65 when I go in there. At times I would leave the chillers running to keep the water pumping. And that last part is a good tip. And I've done that as well. You leave the chillers running, the water circulating. It's harder to freeze when it's moving water, and B, just the pump and everything creates just a little extra heat to keep that water a little bit warmer. So yeah, I've done that as well. Unfortunately, on some of these, like the OhmTech Polar Light, even the X-Tool P3, when they're integrated, you'd have to leave the entire machine on, which is an option, but also having it just sit there and not doing anything and is not necessarily the best for it either. So
Wayne's saying, hey, what software to use to design for your Bamboo A1? I'm not too sure he's talking to, but for me, I use Fusion for all my 3D printing needs.
I've used a collection of things. For some basic stuff, you can even just use the Bamboo Studio slicer. You can do some creation in there. I've got a few videos showing using Tinkercad as well to do some design. I've done some things in SketchUp, but SketchUp isn't a true solid 3D program, and so sometimes the STLs need some repair work when you import them. A lot of the slicers and things are actually getting better about doing that, but yeah, those are the ones I use. But that's the SketchUp bit to me is because I've been using it for 15 years or more. Old habit, hard to break.
Yeah. Do. David Pingle's asking if I paint things with acrylic paint because of the fumes, what kind of water-based clear coat can I put on it? And that is my recommendation is polyacrylic. I use it on a lot of things. One of the same reasons is because you can literally take a cardboard box with this stuff right here. It keeps you an old cardboard box and sets you up like a little spray booth and spray this stuff. There's no fumes. It doesn't, and it dries really, really fast, especially if you've got like some wood that's dry enough that you should be making things with it. This stuff sucks it sucks the moisture out of this stuff, and it dries really well. That is what is on this guy right here. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll spray it with some polyacrylic and let it dry to kind of get that water pop and go ahead and seal those fibers. And then I'll go back and do like 2 more coats. I have clear satin and then clear gloss. A lot of times I use the satin because I don't like it too shiny. So I use the satin finish. So that's what I use. I use it a lot because it's just nice to have.
You can also get it in the can brush on form.
Yes.
If you don't use the spray cans are nice, but if you don't use them enough, I've found that they tend to get gunked up easier than some of the oil-based ones. So I keep both around just in case. But yeah. I don't know why it is, but my spray cans of the polyacrylic, the water-based polyacrylic stuff, seem to get. And I do the thing where you turn them upside down, you try to clean it, you do all that stuff, and I come back and it just.
Yeah, it's a good idea with those to flip it, and it's also you kind of wipe its nose after you get through using it, because if not, the next time you use it, it'll blow a bubble.
Yeah,
and that bubble will pop and it'll splat all over your project. So yeah, the spray cans aren't without their downfall, but I use them a lot and I go through them, so I very rarely do I have one that I can't clear. And another tip is if you have polyacrylic, when you get through with a bottle and you throw it away, pop the little tap off the top of it and put them in like a little small jar of water. Just keep them soft. And that way you can, if you do have one get blocked and you can't clear it, you can literally just take one of those little guys and pop it on there.
Yeah.
Just make sure when you pop the little piece in there, you have it pointed away from you when you snap it into the can. Self-correcting issue if you don't.
Corey Stevens is asking, what's the lowest temp a diode laser should be used at? I've been using mine in my garage at 22 the other day, doing earrings on 3mm basswood. A lot of the manufacturers might tell you like 40 degrees Fahrenheit or such. They'll operate lower than that, but what you got to be careful of is, as the laser module heats up itself, or the air heats up or whatnot around it, you start getting towards the dew point, you can start having issues with like condensation. And there's also some of the mechanicals that if you try to do things too fast and, whether it's if you got grease on the rails, it might be a little gummed up. The belts can, if they're tight and they're a little too cold, they're going to be a little more prone to slip and or even crack over time. So you just got to be mindful of maintenance, keep it clean. I would always try to keep it above freezing if you can, just because that they tend to run better than that, but they're a little more forgiving than CO2 lasers and other water cooled devices. But I know other people have done it. Just be mindful of condensation and things like that.
Dixie May saying, anyone have a 10-watt light burn library that may be available for my 12-watt ASMR? Ooh, I don't do a lot of the material libraries because I prefer folks to do testing. If I do a video on something, a lot of times I'll give them my feeds and speeds, but I don't distribute a lot of material libraries. I know there's a lot of people out there that do. Somebody mentioned Rich over at LA Hobby Guy. I know he's got some. I think, does it? Laser Everything does some stuff. I think most of their stuff is with galvos and stuff. But a lot of the laser manufacturers will give you a material library to go by. But I can promise you, I've tried lots of presets and material settings, and sometimes they work, but they're not always the best setting. So, because moisture content of the material, where you are, your individual laser, there are, especially with the diodes that we use, a lot of times there's a little bit of minor, misadjustment on the focus. One machine may be focused more tightly than the other at this, the set distance. There's a lot of variables, but they are decent to get you started if you're just getting into that laser. But I would still test when you can. So
yeah, and the material libraries can help get you in the ballpark. But if you're looking for settings like that, use Google and just ask the right question. What is a typical setting for a 10-watt diode laser for pick your thickness and your type of material. It'll generally give you a good range, and then you can run your material tests from there and really get it dialed in.
Uboofer 5466 says, I bought your Bigfoot for the F2 RA3 setup, and when I printed it, I discovered the RA3 bottom plate was about a 1/16 of an inch longer than your design. Have you ran into that with anyone else? I've had one person report that they were using a new Bamboo Labs HD, whatever it is. But he said that the Y was perfect. It was just the X was off, which I think maybe X Tool had like a little bit of a variation in the width of the plate on the bottom of the RA3. But that's you're the second person that has mentioned that. I have personally printed out 20 something and shipped them, and I haven't had any reports of any fitment issues with those. So I don't know if maybe it was a calibration on the x-axis of that guy's machine, because it was one of the more high-speed machines. But that's the only, like I said, this makes two that have mentioned it. And the other one said he took some sandpaper and sanded it slightly and it popped in. Now I've made it to be tight, but it should snap in there. But once it should be tight. So I don't know. Unless you're using the HD2. I think he told me he had the HD2. But he said all the other dimensions were perfect. So it makes me think that if it was the file, or if it was a scaling issue with the file, then the X and the Y both should have been off. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that X-Tool hasn't, because I know in the past X-Tool has had some machines that had different leg spacing and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe there was a different batch or a different machine cutting those pieces or something.
Santa's Laser Engraving is asking or commenting / asking. So I've only gotten responses so far. Jackery 1000 for F2, air purifier and computer for shows. Issues, ? Any reason to go to the 2000? I know we've touched on this in the past. Based on my experience using other brands, and I'll be honest, Jackery tends to be more expensive for the same power output and power storage than other brands. So I would definitely shop around at, you look at your overall needs for, as far as, your output ports. You want so many AC power outputs or DC power outputs or USB versus whatnot. But look at the watt hour capacity and its overall output. Use those stats to look at some other brands as well. You'll probably be able to get a slightly better deal for maybe more power. I personally would try to get, if you're looking for all day running at an event, you're talking like 8-ish hours, 1,000 milliamps going to get you halfway there. If you're running constantly, maybe 2/3 there if you're, doing it more occasionally. 1,500 to 2,000 is definitely going to get you closer to lasting, 6 to 8 hours of actual use. But generally, those prices get closer to $1,000 to get that. You know, a lot of times they're around 50 cents a watt hour. Now, if you can get it lower than that, that's great. But yeah, the more capacity you want, the bigger it is, the heavier it is, and generally the more expensive it is. So just shop around a little bit at other brands as well before you settle on just straight Jackery. It's all, not that they're wrong. I mean, the company's been around for a while. They've worked with a lot of people, but it's also kind of like you're paying for a little bit for that name recognition.
Yeah. So Dixie May's asking, what's the brand of your laser and enclosure with the bed lowering thing? Currently, it's the Atom Stack X40 Max, which they don't make anymore. And they don't make another machine that has the size of this machine. But I have been discussing with Atom Stack that there is a need for a machine that is wide and not as deep as the 850 by 800 machines that they've been making. I am trying to talk them into making a 850 wide by 500 deep framed machine. And I've had several emails this week with them, and I've begged of them, please make one. I want a 70 watt that has those dimensions. I think that would be, if I had one that was switchable from 35 to 70, I think that would be the perfect setup for engraving with some pretty good cutting and all that. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They pretend to be listening to me, but I don't know that they're actually going to do it. So we'll see. R. Ballard saying, if it's a Bamboo H2 series, you should run calibration. Uncle Jesse had this issue recently on a video with a big Nerf blaster. Yeah, I honestly think, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I know that guy told me he had one of the, is it H2Ds, H2 Pros, H2? It's one of the big machines. But I asked him, I was like, how is the fitment on the Y-axis? And he's like, oh, that's perfect. And I was like, well, it was very tight tolerances, but it should go. The one guy that I talked to said that he was able to take a piece of sandpaper and basically just lightly sand it, and it snapped in. So I intentionally made it snug, like it's snug on purpose, but it should go in there. So I don't know. Maybe it is something with the H2 a little bit different. I designed the file and fit tested it and everything with my A1. So it could just be that my A1's off. But like I said, I haven't had a bunch of complaints about it either. So I'm not sure. I don't have that many 3D printers. Wish I did have more 3D printers, but Steve gets all the 3D printers. You buffer. If you, I said, if it's not fitting exactly, you may be able to sand it just slightly. Or I guess I could maybe go and extrude that file and push that wall back 1/16 of an inch or so, and then have an alternate STL file, because it's just that one piece is all I'll have to do. The back part that sticks out. Maybe I could make a H2C or H2D or whatever version where it's a 1/16 longer. So I don't know.
Santa's asking any recommendations on alternatives, Jackery. At the time when I bought mine, the VTO man was kind of like the kind of the best bang for the buck, the watt hour per dollar. But I think Pecron, I've seen some decent reviews from them, and they seem to have a pretty good deal. I just put a link to one there. That's actually about a 3,000 watt hour for about $800, which now it's going to be a bit bigger. And you might want to look at a few of their other ones, but there are definitely some ones out there. But just look, do a search on Amazon or do a Google search for, best deal on portable power station based on capacity per dollar, and you should find some recommendations there. I follow a number of kind of like the van lifers / the off-grid camping guys that do some reviews on these. So I'm aware of a number of them. I haven't tested them all, but that's one of the brands that I feel has gotten some decent reviews from people. Is that Pecron brand as well? So
Yeah. See, this is the one that, like, this is mine. And like I said, I've tested like the first, I think it was 5 or 6 that I shipped out. I tested them as well. Like it fits snug. Like you can move it around. It's not going to fall out, but it's got like a little pop to it right there when you take it off. The only other thing that it could possibly be is make sure that those little magnets, make sure the magnet's not like protruding more than normal. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I could try to modify the file. And I can't swear that when they made these base plates, there isn't a variation in that, because it's from what the other guy told me. Like he took some sandpaper and hit it with some sandpaper and it slipped in there. So it's not much of a variation. And I've only, like I said, I've shipped out 20 something so far and haven't had a complaint from them. And the only complaint that I had, I asked about the printer just because I wanted to know, just in case. And he said it was one of the H2Ds or H2Cs or it was an H2 something bamboo printer. But it said that the top to bottom was fine, but it was the end. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying there couldn't be something wrong with it, but it's just out of all the ones I've sold, I've only had that one.
yeah, I feel that people are mentioning like Blue Eddy and Anchor, EcoFlow. There's a lot of brands out there. There's a lot of different features between all of them. Some of them have apps attached to it, whatnot. But like I say, end of the day, your capacity and your output are the two things, the overall capacity and the overall max output that it can do. There's some certain things about battery chemistry, and some of the people who test these out will actually do like actual, tests to see, what's their actual usable capacity versus their rated capacity. Generally, you're going to be in that 82 to 86% range on those. But yeah, it's worth looking at some of the lesser known brand names, because you're talking about a battery with a battery management system and then converter to voltage step down converters and such. There's not a lot to these devices, so it kind of comes down. Well, the other thing to look at is their overall wattage input for recharge. Some of them will be slower than others, but it's also kind of like you can drive a Cadillac or you can drive a Ford. Some people prefer one or the other for various reasons.
Yeah, Ford. Who wants to drive a Cadillac? It's just a Chevrolet with a different logo.
Well, you know why Fords have heated tailgates, right?
Heated tailgates. I haven't seen one with a heated tailgate.
So you can stay warm while pushing it.
I hear you. Oh, I hear you. Oh.
Anyway. I feel like we're keeping up with comments tonight. So either
we're there.
People are quite asking.
Yeah, well, we have taught them well. They know a lot of stuff, so they don't have as many questions. That's good. We've I say, do we have anything noteworthy coming to do? Where's your 2 foot by 2 foot CNC that you're supposed to be getting? I ain't seen it back there. Is it in the shop yet?
No. It's okay, so I have I have 2 tracking numbers, and a freight company called me to schedule delivery. I don't, because the companies are bad about telling us, hey, we've actually finally shipped this thing we've been talking to you about for anywhere from days to months.
Yeah.
So I don't know who has sent me what. I was assuming the freight shipment was the CNC machine, because I haven't really talked with too many other places about things recently. But yeah, it should be here any one of the next 3 days. So we'll see. I've been trying to clear off the table. I got a few things on there to get ready for that. But we'll see. Now, I did find a deal yesterday while I ventured outside.
What did you find?
Sorry, I had to roll all the way over here.
Yeah, you better be careful. I almost had a wreck the other day thanks to you and these new high-speed wheels I got.
I went shopping.
Hey, went and got you a pizza?
Well, I mean, I suppose. But unfortunately, and I put this deal out on my page, but apparently both deals that I referenced were done at the end of the day yesterday.
Really?
But these are so they're edge glued pine boards, and it's 10 inches round and it's 3/4 inch thick, but they call it a 1 inch thick. But they had them on sale down to like $1.19. But they also had Menards every year, beginning of the year, they run this bag sale where it's a typical paper grocery bag, and anything you can fit in the bag, you get 15% off. So I often take advantage of that to stock up on weird, get some screws, get some
paintbrushes,
whatever, things that shop supplies that I know I'm going to need, and or strangely small but expensive items that maybe I want to deal on. But they had these there. And so after the deal, both deals, they're like 98 cents a piece. So I thought, hey, I'm going to grab like 10 of them and just have them on hand for various fodder. But I also did look through them to try to make sure I found ones that didn't have like big old knots in the middle of them.
Yeah, you don't want any heavy grain if you can help it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can, put them in the laser, but I could also even do some, V-carve CNC. Pine's not the best, but if you get,
you're gonna want to kind of watch for tear out with it.
Yeah, but I figured at 98 cents a piece, they're inexpensive blanks to use on some things. So
yeah, but you can make some cool projects. I use a lot of my scrap pine a lot of times for testing machines and just making random things. So it's definitely a usable wood, and I think Lowe's has those too. I haven't seen them for $1 though. That's a really good price, especially if you're making different little things.
Yeah,
but yeah, you could take your CNC and actually like set that up and make like a little, like a little entryway tray or something like that with it, with a little shallow pocket. I mean, there's some stuff you could do with it.
Yeah, and it's just nice to have kind of pre-made, pre-flattened blanks that are ready to go, and at that price,
yeah, if you mess it up, you ain't lost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you're not out much for that. So, so it's good to pay attention when you're shopping there. Look around at some of the supplies or pay attention to some of those deals, where kind of like Amazon Prime Day, whatever days they have, it's sometimes a good time to stock up on the bits and pieces that you use, but you can knock another 10 to 15% off of them. So
yeah, Santa, apparently you've been responsible for Santa having a wreck. Says he bought the wheels as long as he stays in the tempered glass on his desk, but they will not go on carpet. Said he ended up on his head one afternoon.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I guess it probably depends on the type of carpet.
Yeah, how thick it is.
But
yeah, well, mine's just gritty, dirty concrete, and they roll really good, really good.
Well, and this chair doesn't even have those. Let's see if I can even lift this up.
Now that's your fancy chair you bought, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna hurt myself. Boy, they've got like full on.
Yeah, those are like Joe Nuff casters.
Oh. Yeah.
Hey, a little heavy there, fella.
It's not light. That's some this chair. So it's Viper chairs, and they're out of Wisconsin. They cut the parts. They do pretty much the majority of it there. I mean, it's one of the few things that's I think they can honestly say it's as made in the USA as it can, and it's definitely a quality chair. You do pay for it, but I mean, I can roll over extension cords with this thing and not tip over.
Yeah, it looks like it's got the same wheels on it I've got on my CNC table.
Yeah, pretty much. They're definitely like a heavy duty caster,
like 800 pounds per wheel.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's got to support me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those. I was aware of them, but when I was down visiting, my buddy Chris over at A Glimpse Inside, I was visiting him. He had a couple of them, and I got to sit in one all day and went, all right, that's a heck of a lot better than the stool I've got in my shop.
Yeah, I'm probably due for an upgrade. I bought this chair when I was having problems with my back, and I've got some use out of it, but it still works. The only thing I don't like about it is like a mesh material. And in the wintertime, if you drag, like getting up, getting out with this hoodie on, when I go over and touch the CNC, pow, like, yeah. And it does it every time. It don't matter. It's like I've gotten out of where instead of touching stuff with my fingertips, I'll touch it with my elbow first so that the shock isn't as, painful.
Well, these are leather pads. You can even pay extra and have custom embroidery done on it.
Ooh, fancy.
So you can have it say the Clack Shack, but I think the price they wanted for that, it's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think we're going. I don't know that I got that in the budget to be spending that kind of money to have something embroidered. I could probably mark it with the UV laser if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Jared's saying it would work good for clocks. You're round.
Yeah, you could do clocks. I even thought about, with the CNC machine. I mean, you could do it with the laser too, but like doing the whole penny, now that we're no longer making pennies anymore. Engrave it both sides.
Yeah. And Gray's questioning whether it was the carpet or extra wine that night. Let's see what we got here. Derek's saying, any recommendations for in-depth videos or helpful instructions on jigs or repeating engravings on the X-Tool P2S? Tried some 3D prints, but keep breaking on the slats. What? 3D X-Tool P2S. Yeah, I don't have the P2S. I had the P2. They didn't make the P2 very good for like repeat projects without locking that darn
yeah, there's like about a quarter inch play in the honeycomb.
Yeah, so you have to, my cure for that is if you have the honeycomb, grab yourself some painter's tape and tape that puppy still so it can't move. Painter's tape's not going to hurt it, but it's got enough of a stick that'll hold it still where you can use the honeycomb to jig things out. Yeah,
you want to pick a corner that you're going to reference especially if you're going to do any sort of jigs, and use some painter's tape to lock it in, or a small wedge of sorts, and then you can create a jig off of the honeycomb itself. Yes. You'll just need to be able to set up your 0 point.
Yeah. So
that's usually best done in the template. It's a little bit, and that's one of the things when you get into some of these machines that, like, I need to pick like a repetitive job on the P3 because it has their whole automated creation system or whatever. It's great for doing one-offs and getting things aligned and doing a custom engraving on one thing. But when it comes to repeated cuts, I need to figure out what's the best method to be able to just swap material and hit go without having it, do its whole thing over again. So,
yeah. Yeah, I was really thankful when I got a bunch of those glasses that I did over there to where I did the 30-something. I was really thankful when I got, because I just randomly went through the boxes and picked like 5 of them out of the 36 and measured them. And I was pleasantly surprised when the 5 that I got out of the box were all really close. I'm not going to say they were perfect, but they were really, really close. Because you can feel they have like little ripples in them, kind of. But none of the ripples were deep enough, or none of the stuff was misshapen enough to where I had one that, like, right here on the Moore lens, there was a couple of little spots on the M that had like a little bit different glisten to it. But other than that, they all come out good. And that one, you have to really get after it to see it. So So yeah, 36 of these puppies right here, 16 minutes a piece, but they all come out looking nice. So really, really pleased with that. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to like refocus. Now I did check my focus every time I changed it just to make sure I didn't move the rotary. I just took a piece of paper, laid it up there, and made sure the dots were still in the same spot. But yeah, it's nice when you can just swap out your blank and hit go rather than having to run a calibration or map it or whatever, like I did with those one set of glasses where I had to map every single one.
Rob Fight's asking, he's doing his first craft show in June. Any recommendation for a method of accepting cards? Yeah, I've used both PayPal. It was back in the day, it was called PayPal here. I don't know what they've moved to, but it had a card swipe. Now they have just a tap. You know, most phones will take that. Square is another decent service for that, to where you can collect cards, usually just using the NFC communication stuff. You don't necessarily need the swipe thing anymore that they used to have. Just uses kind of like the chip reader and such. Those are the two I have experience with. Sometimes depending on your bank, they might have a way of doing that. A lot of people will even just use Venmo or PayPal directly. But yeah, it is a good thing to do because yeah, you do have a few extra fees, but people are so used to using their cards. And if it makes the sale easier, you know, just keep it in mind, factor it into your price. And if they pay cash, you can either opt to offer a discount or you get a little bit of a 2 or 3% bonus if they pay cash. So,
yeah. I use PayPal if they want to scan and pay me. You can do that on site. I do have a Square. I used it temporarily, but then I got away from it because through QuickBooks, which is the software that I do for my bookkeeping and stuff, you can actually, if you have QuickBooks, you can go to their point of sale devices and you can purchase a little point of sale device that ties directly into your QuickBooks. So it calculates sales tax, and QuickBooks does all your sales tax stuff for you and keeps up with all that. It does it based off of the GPS in the phone of the device that is Bluetooth connected to the point of sale. And so I use that most of the time, but I do have people sometimes going, hey, can I just PayPal you? And so I'll just tell them, yeah, PayPal it to me. And then, you know, at the end of the show or whatever, I have to go in basically and categorize everything if I do it that way. To whereas if I do it with the QuickBooks, I can just, like, I've got a category that I've created, you know, miscellaneous craft sale items or whatever that figures the tax rate at the location using GPS. And so you just put, you know, $5 miscellaneous, you know, event item, and they tap their card and they're out of there. So it's quick that way because it's, like I said, it's GPS and all that. And if somebody walks up with, say, if they've got something and they're like, hey, I bought this at the woodworking, the birdhouse guys booth down here, and I want my grandmother's name on this birdhouse. Can you just do that for me right quick? Then of course I've also got, you know, service only, laser engraving or whatever, boom, boom, done. And so it's really handy if you can get something that ties into your bookkeeping software.
Yeah, and if you're just starting out, you don't have all that. Back when I was using PayPal, they had a whole. You could kind of set up inventory so that you could just kind of tap. Like it was great with like an iPad, because if you have a lot of common items. So say you have ornaments that are like $5, you got signs that are 10, whatever. You could just click on all those rather than having to like manually enter them. So if you're doing a lot of common items and you set those up in advance, it can make that kind of transaction part a lot faster. And like Clack said, most of them will factor, you can put in a tax rate and other things for it. So if this is your first one, you're not sure you're going to do it a whole lot, I would definitely look at, if you already have a PayPal account, look into using that, or, maybe I think Square is free for the most part.
Yeah, you can get it for free. I think when you start doing transactions, they start tacking you with a charge. But like,
well, yeah,
you can buy the little Square thing for like $20.
They get their money off of their transaction stuff. So, but
there's not like a monthly fee or nothing.
I wouldn't go sign up for something completely new just for this, if you already have PayPal or Square is a fairly easy route, at least try it out, see if you're going to do it a lot, and then start looking into your options.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the more like you get into it actually being a business, that's when you're going to have bookkeeping software eventually. There's things that are going to come along. The first couple of events that I did, I didn't have none of that. I literally had a sheet of paper and a notebook, and I wrote it down. That was it. That way, at the end of the day, I knew how much I made. that was basically why I did it, because I mean that was all I was after. Because at the time, I was not making enough money to really. I mean, like I was hardly making anything out of my little shop, but I had an Excel spreadsheet and a notebook, and that was it. Because I think I pay $40 something a month for my QuickBooks now.
Yeah, QuickBooks has gotten kind of stupid expensive if you're just a very basic small business.
Yeah.
There are some other options out there, so definitely figure out a bookkeeping style, because you definitely have to keep track of that. As a matter of fact, I've been seeing some hints at, if you're using PayPal or eBay or any of these payment, even Venmo, they don't always issue a 1099, but they definitely report it to the IRS, and the IRS is using some new AI tools to compare those 1099 forms and the income statements they're getting from the processors with what people are submitting. And if they're not seeing you reporting X amount of income, you're going to get a letter come June, July that says, hey, what's the discrepancy? So definitely keep track of that. Keep track of your expenses so that you can offset that with your income and such. They're using tools to make it easier to go after smaller business. So,
oh yeah. Gray Viking is saying, are both of you seeing any upticks in your YouTube subs? I'd love to see you both in the 100K club. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, yeah, that's cool, but that's kind of like just bling is all that really is. At the end of the day, it's all about the number of views and, most importantly, view duration. It really doesn't matter if you get 100,000 views. If people are clicking in your videos and then they're clicking out in 10 seconds and you're not getting any watch time, it's going to hurt your numbers. It's going to hurt your stats. It's going to hurt your overall performance. What you want is people to watch the video from the first until the last frame. That's what you want. And that's not what you get most of the time, but that's what you want. And subscribers are cool. I love having them. It does look good for, advertisers and companies that we work with from time to time. It does help, kind of polish that up. It's kind of like you driving up and you kind of put together, you know what I mean? You look better to them. It doesn't mean the quality of the products any better. It just means, to them, that's a gauge that they can use. So it's good to have them, but I'm not stressed about it. Mine continues to be steadily growing. And so is Steve's. And I think all in all, we're both content. Would I like to see it better? Heck yeah. Why not? But I take community engagement and community trust over the number of subscribers I have. I lose them a lot of times because people are like, I don't like you doing this. But, it's hard for me to justify changing the way I do things because I got 2 people telling me they don't like it. It's you just have to look at it from a like a 5,000 foot elevation view. You can't get too hung up on any one part of the analytics, in my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the sentiment and all you're saying. As to the actual question, no, actually, subscriber rates have slowed down. The number of subs I got last year compared to the year before were a lot lower. You always see a spike around the holidays. People are watching more videos. They subscribe more. They're probably researching things they want to get or stuff they just got. So like January, I got about half as many as I got in December, is where I'm trending at. But yeah, I probably got about 2/3 to 3/4 of the subscribers in 2025 as I did in 2024. Now there are other factors to that. I mean, I've been maybe less consistent as things have been a little busier in other aspects and such. But yeah, it would be fun. It would be cool to have that plaque. It'd be cool to have that number on there. But yeah, like Clack was saying, it's more about having consistent and, you know, views and interactions. It's you can look, even just, you can kind of surmise from a certain channel if you see that they've got all of a sudden, you know, if they're trending and they tend to have, say, 1,000 to 2,000 views per video, and all of a sudden they get one that's 45,000 views. Well, if you go and look at the number of comments and the likes on that video compared to their others, and they're getting the same number of comments and likes on the 50,000 view video as, say, the 1,000 to 2,000 video, someone
is artificially stimulated.
is probably promoting that. And like Clack said, it's getting pushed out to more people. They're seeing it. They go 5 seconds. They make the decision like, this is dumb, and they move on. And those, while the numbers help, I mean, the advertisers like to see that, hey, if I send Clack a video or a product, I can expect X number of views on it. And that's just as important to them as it is the number of overall subscribers. So it's a weird game on the back end of YouTube. Just personally for me, where I'm at as far as, you know, I'm a long ways away from retirement. I have a good career that I still need to, you know, maintain. That, you know, it's what really truly pays the bills for my family. This started and continues to be my hobby that allows me to do some things, but it allows me to share with people. And I've been pushing back on more advertisers and people wanting to send me products where they've gotten more pushy into the marketing vein. I just straight up remind them, because they like to entice you, like, oh, well, you know, you get a lot of affiliate commissions, you can make a lot of money. And I tell them, I could care less if I make money. If I can educate someone and help them make a better decision so that they honestly know how the thing is going to work for them, that's my edification. Now, it's nice having the money to be able to do things, and hopefully it does help me retire sooner. But I've been pushing back harder on a lot of them, just saying, listen, I am not going to be your marketing guy. I will be fair about it, and I will test what you say. But if you tell me you want to push this, you know, one of the biggest things people are doing is like batch processing, you know, whether it's auto feeding materials.
It automatically aligns your material with your laser.
I'll tell them, I say, yeah, I'll talk about it, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to be very clear that it doesn't work well. So yeah, love to be there someday, but I'm happier with, you know, the kind of the steady, honest community building growth rather than the viral growth and such. Hey, Cody, good to see you here. I know while it's cold outside, we've got power, we got heat. There's no snow. I mean, there's snow on the ground, but we're north of all the snow and the ice. So that's been good for us, but I am looking forward to the outside air temperature, maybe getting above the negative digits for a little while. So
I'd go outside and check the trees.
Hopefully you're good down there in Mesa area of Arizona. It's a bit warmer down there, I hear.
Yeah. Yeah, Eileen says she's got GoPayment. That's what I use. It's just an app that's on my phone or on my iPad. And yeah, just pull it up and tap. It works really good as long as you got internet. If you don't have internet, you're in trouble. Ryan says he's only 99K away from 100,000 subs. Hey,
keep on pushing, man.
Yeah. Now I will say, you're talking about your numbers are down. Had I not retired in October and like started doing this full time and had a couple of videos that kind of popped off and stuff, my numbers probably would be down, but my subs are actually consistent according to YouTube. I'm at about the same as I was the previous 365 days. So, but now that's from me going from a part-time gig out here back in middle of September to doing it, every day, all day. But I am also trying to rejuvenate this other channel and create my second channel and get it started collecting a little bit of change. Which so far I'm just having fun with that channel. It ain't making nothing. Like it's just there. But yeah, it's fun. And I hear a lot of people, like I said, I'll hear a lot of people say, and I've talked to other content creators and that are much bigger subscriber base than I am. And they each channel is different. Let's just put it that way. So like as far as monetization goes, just because you got 100,000 subscribers or 130,000 subscribers don't mean you're making good money. You just got a lot of people subscribed to you. They might not be watching nothing, but they subscribe to you. So that's why I'll take active viewers over subscribers any day.
Yeah.
The AP2.
Eileen's asking, do either of you use the X-Tool Safety Pro AP2 trademark air purifier?
How is it normal in there?
Is it normal to have all the filters zero out at the same time? It's $180 to replace all the filters. No.
Yeah, that sounds odd.
That sounds like something might have gotten messed up, whether it was in an update that reset something or whatnot. It definitely shouldn't. Generally, they're gonna, the ones higher up, like you got to clean out the cyclone thing, but then there's like the HEPA filters will generally get clogged up way before the carbon activated filters and such tend to need replacing. And of course, generally they get more expensive the more you go from top to bottom. So it's probably something up with that. Maybe see if you can reset those and have it reread them or something, or I haven't checked lately. I can't remember. There may have been a recent firmware update on that one. And sometimes those reset them funny. So
yeah, I got mine popped up. Let's see here. All right, so let me get that comment out of the way. So this is mine. This is an engrave I did on that little box that I built. And like if I go into mine, go down here, I got set to auto. With my pre-filters at 26, activated carbons at 88. I'm about got mine full. So yeah. They're not all maxed out. Now, I guess if you kept running it, maybe you could max them all out, and when you looked at it, they would all be maxed. I don't know what it does I don't know if it pops up and tells you or not when you fill it up. Because I mean, if you ran it to where this one filled up and then you kept running it, and that, you know what I mean? You could fill them all up, I would assume, but depends on how old it is. I've been running this one for a while. Now I used it with my S1 some, but I've only been using it with the Ultra. But I've been running this Ultra a lot. Like I did all these glasses using the AP2 as well. So I don't know. I know you can reset these, right? Let's see.
I think there's a way to.
I want to say.
I don't know what I can get at mine right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But I mean, it's kind of like your oil change. I guess if you just kept using it, you could have them all fill up at one time. I mean, they could all be filled at one time. I don't think they all, like got to 100% at the same time. Personally, I mean, if they did, there may be like Steve said, there may be an issue or a software update you need.
Yeah, mine's connected to my S1, which is turned off right now, so I can't look at it. I have to run into the basement.
Let's There's you another question. EMT wants to know what's the difference in reels and long form. The audience is a big difference.
YouTube introduced reels to try to capture some of the TikTok crowd. I've legit had, it's definitely a different audience that gets shown to. I treat them as, sneak previews or a little behind the scenes kind of things, but yet then I'll get comments from people like, well, this wasn't very informative, or there's not enough information. And I'm like, well, it's a 60-second thing. What do you expect?
It's supposed to be entertainment or a tease. It's not supposed to be
and so, yeah, it's not, and some people get quite upset about even them existing.
Yeah, they do.
So it's definitely weird. I don't know. I dabble with it. It's kind of the thing that if I remember to take some B-roll footage, but I'm trying to balance that with like, you got to like take it across the project you're doing, as opposed to like, well, let me just grab a few seconds of this real quick. But
yeah, I like to grab like 5-second clips of different stages and stuff. But yeah, shorts are kind of like if you're waiting on the bus and you just have nothing else to do, you can flip through shorts. But if you're wanting to sit down and learn something, that's when you're going to want to watch the long forms. So shorts are literally like little 60-second, just entertainment. That's about it. I would say one's for using the bathroom and the other one's for watching in the living room on the TV. But
yeah, just do that at home. Nothing worse than going to a public bathroom and someone's either watching a video or they're literally on the phone. And I am the guy that if I hear you're on the phone, I will make sure that toilet flushes multiple times so the person in the other end knows that you're talking to them.
I try to avoid public facilities when possible.
Tim Arthur says, just started my YouTube journey, just having fun and sharing information, giving back like these guys. And that's exactly where I started it. I think that's one of the best ways to start it. I know there are some people that go into it with a whole mindset of I'm going to build this channel, I'm going to monetize it, and that's going to be about. And it works for some, but for me personally, this was what I wanted to do with it, was basically be able to share information on it, and be just kind of a fun outlet. And if I find that when I keep it that way, I get a better audience, and my expectations of it are not tempered so much in how do I maximize profit, but how do I have fun with this and share cool things. So love that you're doing it that way. And hopefully it continues to be enjoyable for you and gives back to you in that way. And eventually maybe monetizes for you.
Yeah. The thing about it is people want to see you have fun. And I've got friends that ask me all the time, like, I want to start a channel. And like me and Klein have been discussing it. I want to start a channel. What do I need to do? And, the thing is just make videos, have fun, make videos. Understand that, like not everybody's going to like your content. There's going to be a small portion of your audience that is going to hate your content. There's going to be trolls. I woke up this morning, had a troll. Like he was all over me. He was going to end me. He was going to put me out of business and all that. So those days are going to happen. Those things are going to happen. It's not for everybody. That's why I tell people it's called YouTube, because there's multiple channels and you find the ones that fit you, not the ones that fit me. You find the ones that fit you. That's why YouTube. So, I know my flavor is not for everybody. It is what it is. Just like with Steve, Steve is not going to appeal to every audience. The respectable ones will just go, yeah, don't really like this guy. I'm just going to keep scrolling. But there's always going to be that handful of them that are going to want to educate you on why your video sucks to them, which they just assume that you care. But, but yeah, I have fun with it. I never intended on starting a YouTube channel. That was not my intention. It wasn't until I'd actually got it to the point to where I was ready to be monetized that I realized I could actually start a YouTube channel and make it successful or semi-successful. So, but yeah, have fun with it, because there's nothing worse than especially with YouTube, because you may be trying and trying and trying and trying, and you're trying too hard. You're swapping topics, or you're doing this or you're doing that, and you just can't quite figure out where you fit. If you've put yourself in a position to where you feel pressured to perform, then you're probably going to screw it up. As that's with me. I mean, if I ever get to where I'm like pressured to do videos, the videos are terrible. Like me and Steve will, we talk about it a lot of times. These companies that send you stuff is like, hey, we need the video, next week. I need the video next week. You're going to get the worst video ever, because the audience is going to see that I'm not enjoying myself, and they're not going to want to watch it. So just have fun with it. Like Steve said, have fun, do what you want to do, show people what you do, and just be ready for the trolls, because they exist. They're everywhere. Yeah, well, there's been several sweet spots, Mark. I mean, there was a time when 20 watts was kind of like middle of the road. You had the 40 watts and the 10 watts, and there was this big controversy over how keen the human eye was, and whether you could tell a difference between a 20-watt engraving and a 10-watt engraving. But they change fast. So
Yep.
There's your one.
Tim Keller's asking, hello guys, is there a good air purifier? I have 6 printers, and I'm wondering if there's a good air conditioner to take the smell out of the air or some of it. Oh, so we're not even talking about necessarily a exhaust system. You want to just generally clean the air around your printers. That's a tough one. I mean, I guess part of that would be to try to, if you can capture it before it gets into the greater room, that helps. But I guess I haven't found any necessarily. By the time it gets into a room that's of any decent size, you got to have a pretty good system to actually scrub that volume of air and keep up with it. So it's always best if you can contain it. Yeah, I don't know if I have any good recommendations on that. Now, if you're looking for a good, like actual air purifier that you're going to hook up to a machine, Fume Clear. They have everything from the small solder capturing ones, which are basically what a lot of these laser manufacturers are trying to pass as air purifiers for laser engravers, on up to they've got some good industrial size multi-filter stacked air purifiers. So I would look at that. The best one I've used that I personally have is the AP2. When your filter stack doesn't go weird on you, like we were talking about a few minutes ago. Not to say it's 100% perfect, but it lasts a lot longer. And for what I've used it for, as long as you kind of keep that top cyclone cleaned, than compared to any of these other, they generally have a 3 filter unit. They got like just a foam filter, then they have a HEPA filter, and then they have an activated carbon filter to try to actually get some of the VOCs out. And those work okay for about 5 to 8 hours, depending on how heavy you're using them. And then it rapidly gets clogged up, and its efficiency goes down, its airflow goes down. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of them because the filters get gunked up so fast, and you can spend a lot of money on it, or you're constantly trying to clean that top filter, and it just, yeah.
The little for small machines like the F1, I've had pretty good luck out of that little X Tool desktop one.
Yeah,
but it's not gonna handle, like if you're doing heavy cutting and stuff like that, you're gonna stop them up quick. If you're doing cutting, you're gonna have to have something like robust. If you're just engraving and doing small stuff with a small machine, like I said, these consumer units seem to work, but the commercial ones that I've seen that some of these other folks have, like we saw one at CES that they had at the Alien Cell booth. What was that thing called? And it was doing a pretty good job, but now it's not cheap.
That was a Fume Clear unit. I should have caught which one it was, and maybe I'll reach out to Michael and ask, because he's worked with them more. Yeah, and that's the thing, is they have they have sizes that you can scale to, and so that is going to better match what you're actually doing.
Yep. Dixie's asking, what do y'all think of the Millwright Carve King 2? I know y'all like those others. I like Millwright for Made in USA and the Makita 710 trim router 65 millimeter. I've never had a Millwright Carve King. I too like Shapoko because it's probably as close to Made in USA as any of the rest of them. But I saw the Millwrights. They look okay. I mean, most of your CNCs, the controllers, the steppers, a lot of the electronic parts are going to be imported from the same factories. Is it possible they make their own steppers? It's possible, but with that, you're probably going to be paying a pretty penny, kind of like Epilog and some of the other, like, was it Trotec, some of the other American-made laser companies. I mean, they're a lot more expensive. Some would argue they may be better, but they are a lot more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, this one is a similar footprint to the 4040 Pro, and it's $879.
That's not bad.
They make the majority of their parts, but yeah, like you're saying, the steppers are going to be imported. I don't know what controller they're using. I'm just trying to look at it real quick because I don't even know I've seen one in person. I'm familiar with them, but I've never really had a chance to really use them. So
yeah, it's a little, okay. This is a small one. Not a bad looking little machine. It's got some good Z height on it. The American companies tend to not send out machines. So, I mean, you think they would.
They tend to work with like they'll work with like a select few to kind of, you know, they'll lock someone in for a year and almost kind of get them on an exclusivity contract, say, hey, you're going to be our ambassador for this year kind of thing. And that's fine. But
yeah, some of the laser companies do that too. The dust boot looks pretty sweet that they got. It's made out of acrylic.
Santa's Laser Engravings also saying, talking about YouTube, Facebook, do you both have more Facebook followers than YouTube? That's the way mine is. So I was just curious. Absolutely not.
No, my Facebook just hit 6,000.
I'm not even at 1,000 on Facebook. It's just there's I think pick your social media platform, and there are going to be people who love it or hate it, and people who refuse to be on it and such. And we've seen that too, where a lot of people are like, hey, I'd love to be part of the laser engraving group, but I'm just not on Facebook, and that's fine. But yeah, it seems, I mean, like any of them, you have to be consistent. And I'm not. My focus has been more on putting content out on YouTube because it's the type of content I want to put out there. Facebook, I'm on there for a variety of groups, and I still appreciate it for that, but it definitely, things get watered down in everything else they throw out there and such. So it's I don't know.
And as far as monetization goes, Facebook doesn't pay hardly anything, and they delete your videos, like your lives, they delete them after 90 days.
Yeah.
So even if somebody wanted to go back and watch previous lives, they delete them after 90 days. It's not, if you told me one of my two social medias had to go, Facebook would be out of here quick. Now, the one thing I will give Facebook, if you're selling stuff and you're trying to like show people your products, it's good for that, because especially the genre of people who buy a lot of the stuff that we make, home decor type stuff, the ladies will share, especially in my area, the ladies will share your stuff on Facebook or Instagram. And so it's good for selling, but I would say it's not really good for content creation. And I've got some really big channels that I'm friends with, and they've told me, you know, you can do Facebook, but if you've got one day to do something and you can't do both, do YouTube before you do Facebook, because the dividends are going to be better with YouTube. Facebook's, I mean, you got to pay to get a check mark on Facebook. I mean, to be verified. I mean, you would think if they're paying you, they've got your tax information. You should get the check mark for free, but no. Like the first, I think for the past year, they would send me $10 for Facebook money, and I would send them 12 for a blue check mark, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
It's just another racket to get money. I don't do the blue check mark thing on any of them. There's not enough reason for me to. And also Facebook, at this point, I will never get monetized on. Even if I am monetized, I will never receive a payment from them because they screwed up something on my taxes and they will not allow me to correct it.
About that too.
So I don't put any focus on Facebook other than trying to share more information and with people that happen to be on there. So
yeah. Derek's got an interesting question. Which would you rather, content creation or machine work? If machine work, what is your two go-to machines, whether it be CNC or laser based? I like working in the shop first. The content creation has turned out to be pretty fun, but you know, if I don't do a video every day that I wake up, but just about every day that I wake up, I come out here and run a machine. So this is what started the channel. As far as the two machines, I mean, I love my CNCs, my Shapoko especially. Like earlier, I had to move that blue one out of the way because I was working on a project for my buddy, and I'm like, move that. Well, let's move this because I trust my Shapoko. But of course, my Shapoko, and then I don't know. I don't know if I can narrow it down to two because
y'all remember when I had to convince him that a CNC machine would be something he'd want to add to his shop.
You did. I'm not going to argue.
Just throwing that out there.
There are several videos of you going, you need to get a CNC. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for it right now. And you're like, you need to get a CNC. And then what was it? Saint Smart decided to send me that 4040. And I was like, I'm going to take it so I can play with a CNC. And you're like, yeah, you're fixing to step off in it. And I got that 4040 and it's been downhill from ever since. Like if I had a bigger shop, I'd have a bigger CNC, but I don't have a bigger shop. You were right. You were right. I'll give you that one. Hey, you were kind of right too the other day. And Brandy told me that you were right. And she said, I know you don't want to hear this, but when you told me, yeah, you'll get tired of spending your money and you'll be setting up shipping in your house before long. Yeah, you were right. It didn't take me long. I didn't think I'd be shipping that many though.
Well, when you make it easier, you see the value in it too.
It's cheaper,
when you got something,
even just going straight to the post office and like I went to USPS, it's 50% cheaper probably to do it that way than it is to.
Well, and also you're doing a product that you're not doing one-off customizations. And the people say, I want that. You go, okay, I've got 3 on hand. I'll ship one out to you. That makes it easier to do. And
yeah, I've started stocking those Bigfoots. Like I got 3 of them in there, packed up, ready to go. All I got to do is print a label and take them to the post office this week.
As far as me for this one, that's tough. I mean, because I've done both. Before I was really, I've had my YouTube channel forever just to share things. It used to be more model aviation type stuff. And then I got more into running my business and developing my own model airplane kits and my own supply stuff. And I was very much in the machine work. And at that time, it was probably more heavily on the I would say both the CNC and the CO2, the CNC router and the CO2 laser were at that time my workhorses. But I was in a production mode of making multiples of the same thing. And that's where those 2 machines really shine. But I also got tired of that. And I kind of wanted to do more just creative stuff. Content creation leads to that. And I love sharing. I love when I get a video done and I can share it out and, getting the interaction with people, the feedback. The actual process of filming and editing though, is less enjoyable than the process of making and creating.
It's like licking stamps.
You know, I love sharing it. I love having that completed video to share, but slowing down, making sure that I've got, you know, the camera angle, I've got the audio, I've got the lighting. Okay, now let's do this one thing. And now, okay, now we got to reset because I got to do it from a different angle and whatnot, versus just making something and getting that end product.
Or how about those times where you're editing that video and you're like, the mic died?
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah. So I love content creating. I love putting this out there and sharing with people and building that community, getting that feedback and the teaching aspect. I've talked about that as well. I mean, I love when I can explain something that someone else goes, hey, it finally makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. Those are some of the best comments I love to see, is when, you know, I get them all the time on some of my, like the easel for CNC video. I get a lot of people who have commented that, you know, that finally helped, or my, you know, getting started with your X-Tool S1. That to me is the reward, and I enjoy that aspect of it. But getting it through the editing and the production process is sometimes just, that's a little tiring, you know. So I don't know, hard to say. But as far as, yeah, the machines, I think if I had to pick only one right now, it would be probably a form of a laser. But if I was able to pick two, it would definitely be probably a mid-sized CNC machine and then a little bit larger laser. Most of my current CNC projects are more like decor, tabletop, whatever. I'm not doing as much like bigger furniture size things. So
yeah. As far as money makers goes, here lately it's been my the F2 Ultra over there, UV, and of course my Atom Stack, because of the stove covers, which I have 8 on the board so far this month that I got to do. So, yeah. Mark is saying, I think it's hard to make evergreen content as the laser space changes so fast. It's helpful to see the reviews, though. And that's something that a lot of people like, because there's a lot of guys going, you know, oh, I don't do reviews because, you know, there's so many different machines coming out and this, that, and the other. But two things, in my opinion. One, new tech is cool. All right. Whether I need it or whether I don't, it's cool. It's cool to play with. It's cool to figure it out. It's cool to see how accurate the company's, you know, claims are, whether or not they're just blowing smoke or whether there's some validity to what they're saying. I enjoy that. And I like being the guy that can take a machine and say, yes, this is something that you could make these things on. Or, you know, are you going to be the next, you know, big thing making these at the speed of light? No. But, you know, I mean, we like to be able to explain to you, yes, you can make some stuff with this machine, but these are the things you need to expect when dealing with it. And I like being able to do that. And because I kind of feel like sometimes, not everybody out there, but there are channels out there that just, you know, they're a little like, I don't know, with a shopping network ish videos, to where it's like, and next we have, you know, I don't want to be like that, you know.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more. I mean, you know, I don't want to be like that, and that's not how I started my channel. That's not how I want to end up being. I do enjoy the new technology. I do enjoy machines that can do stuff that machines used to couldn't do, like that curved engraving thing that I did the other day was in whiskey glasses. That was pretty cool. I could not have done that with another machine in this shop. I mean, it just wouldn't have worked. So I like it when companies say, yes, you can do this. And then you find out, yes, you actually can do this. That's great. Because sometimes they're like, you know, you can, Steve will tell you, sometimes they're like, oh, and you can do this, but they don't tell you if you try it 100 times, you'll get 20 good ones, you know? I mean, so it is definitely different, but I'm glad that somebody out there at least appreciates the reviews and the testing of the different equipment and stuff like that, because we don't want to do like all reviews, but especially if it's something that looks interesting for the audience, or like for new people, or even to have like as an extra machine in your shop. I think it's good to have a wavered, biased per se look at it to kind of go by before you make that purchase, even if it's only a $300 or $400 or $500 machine, because those are expensive too. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, $500 is nothing for a laser. You buy that cheap stuff, blah blah blah. I've heard that before, but in reality, my first laser was $800, and that's a chunk when you've never had a laser and you're dropping $800 on something that you don't even know if you're going to be able to use it or not. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's a question.
I think we both clicked one.
Yeah. There's a question more geared towards you since you actually have that laser.
Yeah, David's asking, you've had the alien cell for a while. Can you tell me if the exhaust fans are powerful enough to push exhaust efficiently? If a standalone fan is used, how is that connected to not damage? Well, my exhaust run right now is only like there's a hole right behind my alien cell. So it's really only pushing the smoke total from the fan over is probably like 5 feet, and it does a good job. But that's literally 5 feet. Like it's coming out the machine, it goes toward the corner of the machine, it makes one left-hand turn, and it's outside. So, but it's doing a good job. The fans are variable speed, so they'll speed up, speed down. I mean, they do a really good job. But the way that they built this machine too, it shouldn't be an issue to take those fans out completely if you wanted to. But so far, it's got 2 fans in there staggered on the pipe. It's doing a really good job of keeping the smoke out. But like I said, in its defense, it's only like 4 to 5 feet till it's outside. So I can't say for any length of distance how well that would work. That's all I got. They do come off and on when the machine goes off and on, so that's good. So it's not sitting there the whole time just roaring away. But yeah. Greg saying, where are you seeing all the YouTube statistics? It's called YouTube Studio. If you have a YouTube channel, you can go to the studio page, and that's where all of your analytics live. And you can sit in there and look at analytics until your brain melts. Like there's lots of stuff in there.
Quilter 1962 is asking, I've been wanting to go to a laser engraver conference for a while, but have had scheduling conflicts. Do you know of any good ones coming up this spring or summer? Best one I can think of is the Next Level Maker Conference. It used to be the Next Level Laser Conference, but they're expanding it to try to encourage more 3D printing, CNC router, or other kind of making UV printing type as well. And that one is going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Grapevine, Texas.
Grapevine, Texas in around the 27th of August.
27th to 29th, I think.
Yeah. So that one, I think they said they're releasing tickets
February
1st of February. So that's coming up next week. And it's on our radar to go. It unfortunately lines up with the beginning of our fall semester for me at the college I work at. So I can't 100% commit to it yet. But I've heard really good things of it. There's a number of manufacturers that go there. There's a number of parts suppliers that will be there. Blake from Great Lakes Laser Supply was there last year and provided some content on it. I know he was in here earlier. And then there's a lot of like breakout sessions and kind of like class type sessions where you can learn things about running your business, tips for running your lasers, running other, how to run social media, all that kind of stuff. So I believe the tickets were somewhere around $300 to $400 for like the full thing plus lodging. So, it's a little bit of an investment, also depending on travel, but sounds like probably fairly well worth it as far as the exposure to various machine and material and supply companies, as well as the classes and the networking you get around that. I know a lot of like regional groups have fired up from it. You know, there's I think a Minnesota laser enthusiast group or something that on Facebook that, you know, a number of them have gone to it in the past, and then they kind of come back and they do meetups and such. So that one is probably, I think, the most relevant that you might want to look at.
Yeah, that's right now, that one is on my list of things that I want to do this year. The only other thing that I have that I've considered doing, because it's just so darn close to me, is Vectric is having their event this year. Is it going to be in Tennessee, in Nashville? So I've thought about, and I'm just kicking the can around on this one. But I've thought about riding up to Nashville for that one, because that one,
it's like, what, 3 hours from you?
Yeah, it's not far.
I went up through that way coming home from your place last time.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours. Where was it at? It's not showing up in their upcoming events for some reason. There's IWF in Atlanta, August the 25th through the 28th. See, there's a couple of the IWF. I've thought about going to that one, but that would probably just be a day trip, maybe, to Atlanta, because that's like 3 hours from me. But IWF apparently is August the 25th through 28th, which conflicts heavily with the Makers thing. So I guess I will be.
The Vectric user group meeting is scheduled for October 3rd and 2nd, 2026 in Nashville, Tennessee at the Embassy Suites, Hilton, Cool Springs.
Yeah, I found it finally. But yeah, I thought about going to the IWB or whatever, the woodworkers thing, but IWF. But the problem is I remember now it conflicted with the Makers Conference. So.
There's another one. If you're into like awards and personalization, there's the APA conference in Vegas. It's here in February, mid-February.
It's going to be a week or two.
And so that's another one that there's a number of laser manufacturers, but there's also other kind of award type things there. I've heard other content creators going there recommending to do some networking, and you can definitely get in touch with some other companies there as well. But I haven't heard as much from that one as far as, you know, the breakout sessions. They do have some educational side to it as much, but I feel it's not as focused on small business makers. It's a little more broad and such as well. So that's something to look into. Here's another one from Jen's. I'm researching CO2 lasers, and I think the P2S may be the only one in my budget. I've checked the Thunderbolt and one XRF. Is that right? But I'm not sure. I also have the F1, S1, and F2. So if you're in the X-Tool kind of ecosystem, you're comfortable with X-Tool Studio, yeah, the P2S is a pretty good option for you. Dollar for dollar, I mean, you could definitely look at some of the, like the OhmTech Maker series, or even maybe the Pronto series, and you might be able to get maybe a little more working area or a little more power, but it's probably going to be a larger physical device, and you're definitely going to need to be comfortable with light burn as well. Both Clack and I have had the P2, the predecessor to the P2S, and I do now have the P3. Definitely nice lasers for the most part, but they are like all in one. If the air pump isn't sufficient or goes out, or the internal water chiller isn't sufficient or goes out, it's a little more involved to replace that, and you can't necessarily just easily bypass it. So there's some things to consider. The P2S has a better air pump than the P2. That was one of my kind of wishing it would have been better on when I had my P2, but the P2S I think is twice the power, so it's definitely better. So, but like I say, if you're in that X-Tool ecosystem and you're comfortable with that, that's something to maybe take into consideration to stick with as well.
Yeah, the P2 was okay. There were some things that I could never quite get my head wrapped around, but I didn't get to try the P2S. I know they added like the red dot to the P2S and some other things. The red dot would have been a big deal for me with the P2.
And Tracy Bachman's mentioning the Facebook groups are being overrun with AI. Yeah, we noticed that it got turned on, and after a few of those really dumb AI type questions, we made sure to turn it off in the laser engraving community group we've got.
It was being stupid.
Yeah, some of the things it was proposing are just kind of it's.
And it kept asking random questions.
Yeah,
and I was like, what is this? Nobody wants that. So.
Yeah, so we tried to turn it off on ours. It was more annoying than helpful. Dixie May is asking, this is a Lightburn question. The Acmer I got is 150 by 150 and everything is pretty much all metric, right? Well, the bed on the Acmer K1 is in inches of all things. How do I get Lightburn to I'm guessing switch over to inches? Do I have that open? There's actually a little button you can switch between metric and inches in there, and it will change your grid and the yeah, it wants to update. Okay, there we go. Let me see if I can bring this out here. Nope, I'm gonna want entire screen. There we go. And well, let's hide that. So right up here in the top middle, there's this little button that says MM. If you click on it, it'll switch to inches. And you can kind of, I don't know if you can see that, the grid, it will change from your millimeters into inch measurements. And so that's how you can kind of quickly change the interface to do that. Otherwise, you can go into the settings and I think set that as default. They've also added that into some of the tools like the resize slots in selection. You can switch between those two as well. Or sorry, in the measurement one. I wish they would add that to this tool. But if you go into the measurement tool, it brings up this fancy little window where you can click between inches and metric. So when you're selecting items, you can see that it is 1.2598 inches or perimeter length. Here we go. 112 millimeters versus 4.4 inches. I don't know why it doesn't update this one, the segment length. But anyway, those are a couple areas that you can switch between the two so that you can a little bit easier to work with that. Sometimes I jump between the two based on, whether someone's asking for one measurement versus the other or, just trying to mentally do the calculations. For anybody wondering, Seattle's moving on to the Super Bowl.
Cool.
My boy Sam Darnold that we gave up last year.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Honda
Honda Freak 45. Do the desktop CNC require knowledge of creating your G code, or is it simple as running laser? I wouldn't say it's necessarily as simple. It's similar, based on depending on the program you get. So you need to have you still have to have some sort of design software to create, vector shapes and paths, and then you need to have an application that will change that into G code, which is generally called CAM, which will create the actual files for your specific controller. And so some of them are fairly simple. Some of the more popular ones being, Easel's web-based and really walks you through it. But, it's a monthly subscription kind of thing and can be a little bit limiting. But then there's also Carve Co. and VCarve are other popular ones where they have a similar interface to say like Lightburn. You bring in, you can do some design work in there. You can bring in other vectors and images and then apply the tool pathing to it. The thing with the CNC routers that are different from lasers is it's not just power and speed of, the speed of the gantry and the power of the laser. You've got the bit type, you've got your router's rotational speed, you've got its travel speed, and then you've got the pass depth. You've got a lot more things to kind of consider in getting set up. So I feel like the learning curve's a little bit steeper on actually setting up the tool pathing than a laser. You also have to keep into account you got a material hold down and you got to keep those things out of the way of all the paths of everything. So
Yeah, it's a different nut. A lot of the basics are, from laser. If you learn a lot of the XYZ stuff from lasers, you can use that to your advantage in CNCs, but it is definitely a learning curve.
Eileen's asking, can someone explain what it means, the crown symbol with number and XP? So that's a YouTube feature in specific channels. It's kind of a hokey little kind of reward system. So the people that are more active in chat, they earn the weird token things, and then they get ranked in there. And the more active you are, the higher your ranking is. It really doesn't mean anything other than, hey, you're being active in the channel and I appreciate it.
Yeah, you get bragging rights. You get bragging rights.
Yep.
Oh, look at there. Mike says that's the thing. You both are great teachers, and that's what we like about all your channels. Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. Steve, did you put the extensions on the Genmitsu Diamond State sis?
No, I don't have the extension kit for the Genmitsu. I do have an extension kit for the Fox Alien CNC machine that I hope to do, but I also now have Saint Smart is sending out another one of their machines and such. So part of my goal this summer, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, part of my goal this summer is to actually kind of revamp my working areas, both out here in my shop as well as my basement work area. So that I can have a couple areas that are more like permanent working area that's more like for my production jobs or my, just I want to make something for content. It's a project, but I want to then also still have the area where I can bring in new machines and do some testing and whatnot that doesn't necessarily disrupt the workflow of everything else. So that's what one of my goals is going to be, to make that easier and not have to continue like, oh, I got to move this machine because this other thing's coming in. I got to have a space for it.
Yeah. Well, that's me, because currently this is kind of my flex space right here that I use for everything. And like I said, I've got like 8 stove covers I've got to get done. And I know me and you both are supposed to have some gear coming in for a machine that's really big, and I really have nowhere else I can put that machine. So I'm going to have to push the machine back until I can clear my board from stove covers, because those things have to be done and got out of here before, I screw up my workspace. Because when I get something that big in the middle of my work area, it's there until I get through with it, because it's, how frustrating it is. Come in there and try to move something out of the way and then come back, and it's a pain. Kevin says the content creators who are constantly saying product is the best thing since sliced bread. I appreciate how y'all review good and bad. Yeah, that's we've never like really just tried to roast a company, but we like to be honest when we do our stuff. And you can do that without just being hateful. Usually, I haven't had a company make me get hateful with them. I'll put it that way. I'm sure it could happen, but so far, most of the companies are like, yeah, we're working on that, or something like that. So.
Yeah. And Red, who's saying, what was the best thing before sliced bread? But yeah, no, it's kind of like when people say it's a game changer and such. I don't know. I that's where I try to gear my content around. Here's what I'm finding in my shop with real materials, real speeds and such. Here's what to really expect out of it. We do sometimes get the push from, manufacturers like, oh, here are the talking points we want you to focus on.
Yeah.
And I kick that back to them. I'm like, I will test your machine as you say it should work, and I will say whether these things work realistically or not. But if it's going to need to work for me to be excited, and
if you want it highlighted, it's going to get highlighted whether it works or whether it doesn't.
Yeah, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to let people know that too. It's like, well, it technically does this, but not very well. So, yeah. It's I if I'm ever getting too salesy on thing, I hope I hope you all will tell me nicely,
Yeah.
gently.
Yep.
But
Yep. Let's see what we got else. We about got to the end of it. So if you got any questions, make sure you drop them in there. We don't want to stay too late.
Greg's asking, are you both using a PC? If so, which brand and specs? I'm curious about your use of hubs through the shack. I use a variety of computers. The one I'm on right now is a GM Tech. Just it's a small form factor machine, but it's got a fair amount of memory and CPU in it. But as far as my office desktop I just replaced and my current laptop, they're Lenovo machines. The desktop's a Legion. The other one is their mid-tier gaming machine. But some of that is geared more towards the fact that when you're doing video encoding and such, you need a little more GPU than you do when you're just running, say, Lightburn. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have an older MacBook for testing, although I haven't tested much on it recently. But for me, most of the machine control stuff works better in Windows. A lot of the CNC stuff, in some cases, just flat out needs to be Windows. And so I'm not saying you should never buy a Mac, but if you're into machine controlled stuff, your life's a little bit easier being able to run Windows. And I know you can run, VMs or parallels and such, but to me, then you're losing the benefit of running a Mac. So,
well, my computer is very specific. It's an older one, but but since we're at it, it is a relic from a previous life. It's called a FRED. It is a forensic review of evidence device. And this is it right here. It has a RAID built into it. It has a total of 6 different hard drives, a whole bunch of RAM, video cards, several USB cards. Like, it is stacked. But this is my old forensic machine that I used back in my previous existence, and it is massive. It weighs 120 something pounds and has 12 cooling fans on it. It is very old and needs to be replaced, but that is it's complete with the Tableau write blocker and everything. So I can forensically autopsy a computer if I need to, but for the most part now it just does video editing and a little bit of light machine operations. But mine's an older version. It looks just like this one, but it was gifted to me by the Secret Service back when I was on the Innocent Images Task Force, where I did computer forensics for them, as well as the ICAC Task Force, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, back years ago. The machine was given to me after I completed. You have to complete was it 8-week course? Like, you go to the National Computer Forensic Center, and you stay there with the Secret Service and the Marshals for, I think it's 6 weeks, and you have to go through classes and certifications, and you get all of your certifications and stuff. And then when you complete it, you get all the gear that you need. And then, like, I ran it for 10 years, used it doing cases and stuff. And when I decided to get off of the task force and turn my stuff in, they told me that it was no longer like returnable, issuable. And so I got a letter from the Secret Service saying that, we're going to surplus the equipment and you can clean it and sterilize it and do whatever with it. So I kept it in my office for the longest until I got ready to start retiring. And then I wiped all the drives, did a DOT sweep of the machine, reinstalled a ghost image of the original operating system, installed a new hard drive, and I've been using it out here ever since. So, yeah. The rest of my computers are just Dells. Like, I got a small Dell over there that runs the CNCs, the little compact. I got one in the house, and I have an Alienware laptop that I use out here for some stuff. But, yeah, my main computer is a freak of nature. It's massive. I need to downscale because I could really do something with the space that it takes up. But it's hard to replace this computer because it has so many hard drives and SSDs and like swap space, and it's going to be hard for me to replace it. I'm gonna have to put a NAS out here too for my RAID because there's no way I'm gonna find another machine that has the drive storage that this one has. All right, is that it?
I'm trying to scroll ahead to see if there's any pressing things we missed.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Yep. Yeah. Cody said I've always convinced myself into buying a really nice gaming laptop. Eventually, I probably do need to do that. I bought the one I got recently is the Alienware. It's not like the cream of the crop Alienware. It wasn't terribly expensive. I mean, you know, it wasn't as much as it could have been. Let's put it that way. But it's the Alienware 16 Aurora gaming laptop. So far, it's performed really well. It does everything that I need to do. We used it when me and Steve were in Vegas. I used it to do the live from Vegas, and it did a good job. So it's not terrible. You don't have to have like, especially if you're just doing designing and stuff like that, you don't have to have like the most powerful laptop, but you need a little bit more than your average, you know, I'm going to college taking classes laptop. You need something a little bit more oomph than that if you're going to be doing like 3D modeling and stuff. Or 3D scanning. 3D scanning seems to be the most labor intensive thing that I've done with that laptop so far, because 3D scanning will bog it down when it starts processing mesh clouds. Some people would kill for machines. I knock it out, need to upgrade. Yeah. Yeah, I'm bad to try to squeeze every bit of juice I can out of a computer. Sometimes to the point where it starts causing me problems. And that's where I'm at now. I've got until October to have this one down here replaced because it is not capable of upgrading to Windows 11. I did get a stay of execution from Microsoft so that I can use it for another year with updates. But after that, it's done.
It's because you backed up to OneDrive at some point.
Is that it?
Yeah. That was one of the metrics, is if you backed up your PC to OneDrive at some point, they gave you a 1-year extension.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, Gray Viking, it's a good choice of an aircraft. Have fun. Oh, anyway. Yeah, well, it's getting late. We've gone a little over 2 hours. Unfortunately, I got to go to work tomorrow.
Don't say that word.
Well, I got to go to work tomorrow. Although it's a short week for me. It's I'm taking my floating holiday on my birthday later this week, so
Woo-hoo!
I don't have to work the day.
How old are you gonna be? 50 what?
29. No, I'll be 29.
You okay? All right.
So yeah, hopefully I'll have some of my design work done. I can do some cutting, and who knows, maybe I'll do another pop-up live.
Well, I got a video I got to finish because I was going to finish it today, and my buddy asked me to help him with that project that we did. So I got to finish the glass video tomorrow. But
all right,
that's it.
Sounds great.
Well, till next time, guys. Be safe. Have a good day, and y'all got a free cat show right there.
See you next week, everyone.